It's time to get our priorities straight, to stop making excuses, to take back your power, and to rightfully claim what's yours. Your happiness. Are you guys ready? Today we welcome the music and mind of Rochester, New York native singer-songwriter Julia Nunes and featured cause Rochester, New York's Hope Dealers BTC. I'm Amanda Ashley, and this is episode 80 Power. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail. Hey, Julia Nunes. Welcome to Afternoon Cocktail.
Hello.
What's up? How are you? You're all the way out in California right now, so good
I
morning.
am. Good morning. Hi.
Well, well, could you what are you gonna bless our afternoons with?
Oh yeah, we'll kick it off with a song.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, cool. Yeah, in order to play this song, I had to ask if I was allowed to swear, because that happens pretty fast. This song is called Dear Ben, and I released it for Valentine's Day last year.
Perfect.
Okay. Dear Ben, hope you never try to fuck me again. We could try being friends, but I don't think that's the vibe. 'Cause it got weird the other night. All my friends might have been right about you. If I lead you on, it's 'cause I'm haunted by another guy, and he does to me what I do to you, Ashley, in a suit. You're so cute, but I don't love you. If I lead you on, it's 'cause I'm haunted by a girl I liked, and she does to me what I do to you. If I lead you on, it's 'cause I'm haunted by a past life where they made me pay, and I learn from my mistakes. Never try to fuck me again. 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 It's gang vocals. Never try to fuck me again. Sing along at home. Never try to fuck me again. Never try to fuck me
So
so well.
I love it. So,
Thank you.
Julia, I love that you release it on Valentine's Day. That's pretty great. What a good message.
Thank you.
Cheers to that. Um, so, Julia, you're originally from Rochester, New York. I came out
Mm,
here 13 years ago,
mm.
and I remember trying to like see what was up when I first moved here, like what's going on with the music scene. And your name from the start to, throughout my time here had always popped up. And this is my first time meeting you, so I'm
Oh wow.
excited. I've met your father. Your father is a brilliant musician as well, and is very proud. So, as he should be. But anyway, so how long have you been in California now?
Like 8 years, which is crazy. I
Yeah.
feel new here, but I've been here for 8 years.
And you love it.
I do, I do. I am warm and I live by the beach.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I wish I was by a beach right now. That's so awesome. So when did you start? I mean, so your father, like I said, is a musician. Does your mother play music as well?
My mom was in like a very serious choir when she was growing up, like the kind of that does the like ba 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 that kind of stuff. But now she's more so like doing harmonies with my dad when they're bopping around the kitchen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So when did you first start playing ukulele? I mean, I know you did you play piano first? I mean, what else do you play? Piano, guitar?
Yeah, I can fake it on piano, just like muscle memory, like classical songs that I have no right, like the skill level does not match what I can play because I can only play that one song. But I did start with piano when I was like 5. I competed. I was very serious. Um, and then I played guitar, and then I picked up ukulele.
Awesome. So, I mean, when you first started out here, I mean, you were the uke girl, the girl with the ukulele, like rocking out and singing your songs. I mean, I was listening to your new music. I love all your old stuff too, but you have made quite the transformation, and I love it. Like that's like right in my wheelhouse. Like love it. I mean, who are you working with? A group of producers? Like you've obviously networked very well out there.
Oh, that's funny. No, I work
No?
with one person. I work with my bandmate Chase Burnett, who's such an incredible producer, and we're just sending things back and forth. Like it's, I would say half and half between us. He does a lot of the beats.
Yeah, well, bravo. I mean, yeah, it sounds awesome.
Thank
I
you.
love all the production. So how'd you find your voice in really pop music?
Yeah, I think I like pop music, so
Yeah,
um,
that makes it easy.
it makes it easy. Yeah, like when I listen to music, I don't listen like for large blocks of time. I'll listen to music and then I'll usually like sit and think about my own in silence for like 15 minutes. It's like a pretty I trade off, and whenever I try to recreate something I've heard, what I end up making sounds nothing like what I heard, but there's a there's like an inspiration spark that leads me down a weird road that I like.
Yeah, very cool. Do you remember like what it was like to write your very first song or what your very first song was?
Yes. um, I I wrote my first song after a fight with a friend, and it was like the lyrics of, like what I wished I could say to her if we could have like a an eloquent conversation. Because of course, like being a child and being in a fight, you just like don't say the right thing. And I think that that is how I still write songs. Like I'm never going to be more eloquent than I am when I've spent hours curating what I'm saying. So it's like the pain of having real life conversations that don't go so well
Yeah,
put into music.
I love it. I mean, so how? I mean, how has your move away from home contributed to your both your personal and professional growth?
Yeah, living in LA has been great for both, I would say. Um, it's funny, like I really am terrible at networking. Like I'm not good at like making a connection purposefully. It's almost always accidentally. And like some of my best music friends are people that I've toured with. So just like got plopped into a month long summer camp experience on the road. Like you just get to know people so fast if you see them all day, every day, and you go through like trials and tribulations together. Um, so that's what like my music friendships are like, um, and then for my like personal life, like LA is just weird. Everything that you would make fun of LA people for doing, like yoga and minimalism and eating vegan, I do it. I I am very LA, and it was helpful, and um, I've found like so many weird healing things to do out here that I'm really grateful for.
Isn't it funny? Like I even with writing songs like the song you just performed for us, right? There's still elements of heartbreak and that realness that you bring to your music. But I just overall sense and just kind of following you throughout the years, like what you've been up to, like musically. It feels like listening to your music, seeing your videos, and seeing you in front of me. It seems like you really have come into your own skin in a lot of ways, and I think that reflects in your music and the progression you've made. Do you feel that, or am I just like
Yeah,
seeing?
no.
Yeah.
I think that that's why I did all the weird LA stuff, is because I had a sense that I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. And truthfully, it's like a forever thing. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, I've definitely got it figured out, and then like I'll just get hit by something that I'm like, oh no, oh
Yeah, me
no, that's
too.
still there.
Yeah.
So I think like maybe the biggest part of feeling comfortable in my own skin is knowing that I have to like do it all the time, and that it's vulnerable. Like I can't just like hang it up on a shelf and be like I'm good. Like it it won't. There's no shelf life on feeling good. You have to like consistently do things and put
It is
yourself in
work.
situations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely is work.
yeah.
So, speaking of your music friends, I was watching some of your videos and I see you performing with Dodie and Orla Gartland. I am like such huge fans of them. Are they your friends?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Internet friends, like we've hung out, but uh, yeah, like that video that we did together was also an accident. Like I certainly didn't be like we should collaborate on this great song that would be good for us. It was like I have a sibling in England. She has been living there for like over a decade. So when I go over there, sometimes I try to play a show, sometimes I try to see my British internet friends, take the opportunity once every 2 years or something. And I was hanging out with Orla and Dodie, and Dodie had just gotten a cello. And at the time, like now, I think she plays it, but back then she was like, this is very random. I don't know why I have this. And we started playing it in the weird ways that we would adapt our guitar skills to a cello. And then we figured out 3 notes, figured out that it could be God is a woman. And then Orla is just such a superior guitar player. She figured out how to like really play it. And then I think like singing is just such a joyful act. Like when you can do it with other people, especially harmonizing with other people, is just like so fun. So we were
Especially
doing
when they're like Dodie and Orla Gartland.
Yeah, yeah,
Hell, that's
yeah.
amazing. No, they're both like, I mean, maybe for those of you that don't know who they are, please like along with Julia, like check out all their music if you're like a pop junkie. Like I love pop music, but it's like really good indie pop that they both have and heartfelt lyrics, and I love it. So I was like, whoa, she's hanging out with these two, and the cover was awesome, so good. I love
Yeah.
Ariana Grande. So, your 2019 album, Ugh, Wow, is gold. Um, so, what inspired this direction that you took your sound for this album?
I think I had just been playing like acoustic ukulele music for a decade, and um, the truth is I'm not that skilled at this. The real skill I think I have is like communicating my feelings into words and singing and having the voice I have. But I like didn't I couldn't figure out how to expand the instrumentation to excite me anymore. I was like, these are the same. This is the same as things that I've written before. But I love these words and I love this idea, and I want to give it a like different treatment. And the producer of Ugh Wow is Shruti Kumar. She's a producer that I met through Girl School LA, which is a festival in Los Angeles run by Anna Bulbrook, that is all female fronted or female identifying fronted, at the very least, bands, if not full um, female identifying, like the whole band.
That's awesome.
And then businesses. So it's like a full blown festival. There's like carts and tables and vending, and that's all female businesses too. So uh, Anna is like the person to go to if you're looking for a woman to work with in music. And I asked, she set me up with Shruti. And when I listened to what Shruti had done thus far, I was like, oh, you're perfect to like break me out of this like acoustic zone. And she actually didn't listen to any of my music leading up to working with me. She was like, you're telling me you want to break out of a box that you've been in, so I'm not going to check out what the box was. And I was like, cool, thank you.
That's pretty cool. So what did you do? You just met up with her and like sang your melodies and
Yeah,
she produced?
one like No Sudden Moves.
I
She
love
used.
that one. That one
Thank
is
you.
my favorite. Yeah, it's
Oh,
so
yay.
good.
Yeah, she used a lot of my demo. So, like, one of the tracks is like me beatboxing that she just like pitched down an octave and sub bassed out, and like background vocals that I provided her with. So that was probably the most fleshed out thing that I gave to her. But there's a song called, I think it's called Boys, or
Mm.
maybe Song for the Boys. Um, and I had no idea what to do for the production. So I really did just send her a completely a cappella.
Oh, I think we got a frozen Julia. Oh no. Well, maybe we'll give Julia a second to come back. Can I introduce Miss Karina of the Hope Dealers Be the Change? Karina, are you with us?
I sure am.
Hey, lady, how are you today?
Hello. I'm a little tired, but I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, I guess. I've had my 2 cups of coffee, so I'm good to go. So, Karina, share with us. Can you share with our audience a little about your story, who you are, and the journey that led you to being involved with Hope Dealers?
Absolutely. So first, my name is Karina. I'm the president of the board of directors for Hope Dealers BTC Incorporated. We're an all volunteer nonprofit 501c3 public charity. We began as a grassroots community, and we realized that there was a need in our community. We were originally started by our original founder, Stephanie Forster. She started as a support group. And our very first cleanup happened on a Sunday about almost 4 years ago. And we went to what we call our ground zero of the opioid pandemic here in Rochester, New York. That one cleanup turned into us seeing how much it affected those of us that are in recovery, or identify as being people in recovery, how much that actually helped them, along with people who may not have actually been a person who identified as being a person in recovery, but somebody that has been affected by the disease in some way. So recovery is really the only thing you have to give away to be able to keep it for yourself. So that's part of what we do for those who identify as being in recovery, along with supporting the people who've been affected by the disease. What started out as just Sundays going out and doing a cleanup turned into an outreach division and expanded immensely. So we have a hotline where we offer the same services on Sunday, but to anybody who calls 7 days a week. We become an official New York State opioid overdose prevention program. So we hand out Narcan and we train people how to use it and respond to overdose situations. And we're really on a continuing basis trying to restructure and add services to try to fill the gaps in our system that make it hard for people with substance use disorder and mental health issues to navigate our current systems to get help. There are a lot of barriers between the streets and what's really a productive life in recovery. So we try our best to do what we can to help those people in that process.
Karina, can you tell me, help me visualize what an average cleanup looks like?
So we have two separate, we're all one unit, but for cleanup, pretend there's no COVID and there's no restrictions in the world. So for cleanup, we would, what normally happen is we would have a team meet at our lot, and we have volunteers sign up for the position that they would like to cover. And we have a team of security who follow a protocol of training. And in order to go out and to do the cleanup, we have to have a minimum of 2 security guards, depending on the amount of teams we have, the amount of volunteers that come to actually partake in cleanup. They go out in either 1 or 2 separate groups, starting on Clinton Avenue, going all the way around to Joseph. So we clean up all of the sharps that we may find in the community. We also go into abandoned properties. A lot of times the city cannot condemn or demolish a property because it's unsafe for the construction workers to go in. So that's where we come in, and we go in and we clean up the abandoned properties so that we can remove the needles and dispose of them in a proper manner.
Do you ever like when you go to these cleanups, do you ever actually find people in there like using and yeah?
Absolutely. So we've built such a strong rapport because Rochester is an open air drug market. That's just the absolute truth. And we are in the most dangerous parts of where our pandemic is. But we built such a rapport that we don't ever force anybody. If we meet people where they're at. we found a lot of people in houses that are using, and once they know that they're safe, we're not there to shame them, harm them. We greet and meet them with a hug, with food. We give them clothing. We hand out bracelets. The bracelets have our website and our hotline on it, so that if they decide that they are ready to get help, if or when, they can call and be able to get help. Sometimes on the spot, they decide, I want help. And we make the calls and we transport them directly to treatment.
That's crazy. So isn't that like you're in recovery yourself, correct? Or are recovered. So how isn't that triggering like for you to enter a site like that or to even see people using that doesn't trigger you at all?
So for myself personally, it does not. My journey in life in active addiction never brought me to IV use.
Okay.
So the aspect of cleaning the needles up or seeing people who may be using by IV isn't something that I guess for me actually affects me. However, I have lost an abundance of people to overdose. And I still am a person who identifies as being in recovery, or I guess my perspective is different than most because I believe that God has worked through me to free me from that. But it still can be difficult because it's not just a heroin pandemic, an opioid pandemic. While that is a pandemic, it's a drug use pandemic. People who struggle with substance use disorder, that's a disease, and don't know enough information about how to fight for themselves. Because there are so many pathways for recovery, they might not know that a pathway exists, and it can be difficult to see somebody who is stuck and feels like they have no hope and no way out, and that this is all that they're going to know. I know what that feels like.
How do you take your power back? Like, how did you take your power back from that? Because, at this point, you're giving yourself up to the drug, right? If you're in places like where you're doing cleanup, right? You're in a dark place. How do you snap yourself out of that and take your power back and say, no, I am not going to live my life like this any longer? Do you remember what that felt like for you?
For me personally, I absolutely do. I will
Yeah.
never forget what it felt like. And everybody reaches their own bottom, their own moment of clarity, their own spark of hope inside of themselves. For me, it was very dark. I did not live in this state. I had moved to Florida to run away. I thought if I just got out of here, that would free me. But everywhere you go, there you are. And it took me getting arrested on a very large amount of felony charges, not just once, but twice. The second time that I was arrested, detoxing in jail for the second time was my bottom. I was in denial for a very long time that I had a problem, and I went to a 12-step meeting that was hosted within the jail that I was incarcerated in, and I had a very profound aha moment. It was the moment that I realized that I wasn't alone. I wasn't just this only person who had this problem, and that I actually did have a problem, and that if I didn't actually try to get help, that I was going to die.
It's crazy. So you got yourself in recovery, or was it like a matter of approaching friends or family or somebody like, hey, I need help. Like, I'm going to go get help.
So it took me being incarcerated, and I was offered the opportunity with the vast amount of charges that I had to enter into the drug court program. But that was never going to be enough for me. If they would have let me out, which that's what happened. The first time I got arrested, they let me out, and I kept using. You are controlled by a disease. We don't intentionally do things while we're in addiction because we don't care or we want to hurt the people that we love. This is a disease. It's considered a mental health disease, which, I'd say 85%, if I remember my percentages correctly, the underlying root of having substance use disorder is an untreated mental health illness. So that was very true for myself. And I took the opportunity. I asked my judge to give me the opportunity to seek help in a residential treatment setting. And that's what I did. I was in a residential treatment program for 7 months. So I was between incarceration and being in a treatment program, I was gone for 11 months and 28 days.
Wow. Crazy. So what perspective did you gain in those 11 months, like coming out of that and then to where you are now, with Hope Dealers and finding yourself through this non-for-profit? I mean, what has your evolution brought to your attention?
So much. By the grace of God, this year I will celebrate 6 years. And I have evolved immensely through the help of this organization and the people that are in my life, and even those that are no longer in my life. The perspective from the word addict to understanding how that kind of terminology is part of the problem, understanding how important self-care is, understanding the importance of mental health, and having coping skills that don't involve drugs and or alcohol is imperative. Me personally, I believe in multiple pathways. I believe that everybody has their own journey, but I didn't always. That was part of my evolution. So for a long time, I believed that there was only one way, through a 12-step fellowship. And if you didn't do that, you weren't in recovery, and that wasn't valid. And I say that freely and openly because that has been a part of my evolution. That never would have happened for me if I hadn't become involved in Hope Dealers, because what I was able to see was meeting other people that lived their life in recovery, these beautiful lives. And it didn't have anything to do with a 12-step fellowship. Some just did our cleanup or started with our outreach. Some people went and worked out. Some people went into church and their lives were beautiful. So it changed my entire perspective on how many pathways that there were, and allowed me to blossom into not only accepting that, but change my own journey, my own personal journey, because I know for myself that if I ever pick back up, that I won't come back. I know that I will die, and I have too much to live for in recovery. There's too many people who need help, and I am a mother and I have a fiance. So I can't allow that for my own self personally. And part of that wouldn't be possible for me without God and the people in my life and having this organization.
That's amazing, Karina. And kudos to you. I think you're amazing for what you do and for everything that you've overcome. Congratulations, and keep doing such a good deed for our city, and bringing that awareness to our city. what impact do you wish to leave on those lives that you touch? I think we got a
Hope.
frozen. Oh no, there you are. Hope.
Hope. That's the one founding principle is hope. That even if they're not ready, that there's still hope. There's hope for when they decide that they are.
Love it. Hey, before, I mean, I want to ask too, what are the Narcan kits? Like, could you explain what its contents are? Like, what it does?
I wish I had known. I would have grabbed my kit and even showed you. But yeah, so Narcan is naloxone, which is the medication that allows you to bring somebody back from an overdose. It's a reversal. So inside the kit, there are 2 doses of Narcan. They are what we call hair triggered. So you pop one open, you would put it right into the nostril of somebody. They don't have to be conscious for you to administer the dose because it soaks through the mucous membranes. So you would give them the first dose. You would wait 2 to 3 minutes to see if they are revived. And if not, you would give them the second dose. Sometimes it takes more than 2 doses. We willingly give out more than 1 kit if somebody requests them, because every single person in this world should be carrying Narcan. And if you're not sure if somebody is overdosing, Narcan them anyways, because you can't harm somebody by administering Narcan. If they were just passed out from using Flocka or whatever other substance that may not be an opiate, because that's the key. It's an opiate reversal, right? That's the naloxone. I can't even talk today. Reverses the effects of an opiate overdose. But even if you weren't sure, because sometimes the signs can be the same from different substances, it can't harm them by you administering them. But I will forewarn you that if you are administering Narcan to somebody, make sure you have your phone, because you need to call 911 as soon as possible. If they are overdosing and you give them the Narcan, they're going to wake up angry because they're going to go into immediate precipitated withdrawal. And it does not feel good. It's like the flu times 1,000, and they're going to be mad because when you're overdosing, you don't know that you're overdosing, right? So when you're awoken from that in the mindset of active addiction, you're angry that you've lost your high and now you're immediately sick. So I generally like to preface to let people know that you whether it's you call 911 first or you're Narcanning first, those are the first 2 steps. Whichever one comes first, be prepared.
How many, I mean, do you know like you don't have to give me an exact number, but like roundabout how many overdoses there are like a year in Rochester, or like even just in general?
I want to say, I actually do have a number. I'm not sure that I can give you the stats for this year in specific, which normally I would.
That's okay.
You have unprepared
sorry.
me, my dear.
I'm sorry. These are on the fly questions. This wasn't in the.
I like it. That's how I can be prepped all day, but I am just a very raw person. So
Yeah, I'm just
appreciate
curious
that.
though, I'm just curious, like as you're talking, I do wonder that. And then I wonder like how many of those people are saved by these Narcan kits. Narcan or Narcan?
Narcan.
Narcan, okay.
Since 2016, there have been over 60,000 people who have died from an overdose.
Wow.
That is the first and foremost general awareness that we try to bring to the public, is that this is the pandemic that we were in before the pandemic. This pandemic has been happening before the current pandemic. People, young people, all walks of life have been dying at a disturbing rate for years. Before COVID, we were seeing more about this issue, being brought to the light, being brought to the media, but COVID changed everything. I don't think I even want to know what the total numbers for 2020 are going to be when they do come in, because it's going to be
Up, I'm
profound.
sure. Yeah. And Win Hearn, who is tuned into our feed right now, and he or she, I think, just said the 60,000 overdoses and that the stats aren't even in for 2020 yet. But yeah, I'm sure it's grown. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. Little things like this. Just drawing that awareness and being sure to extend that help if you know somebody's in need. We got to all look out for each other these days and take care of one another. Karina, where can you tell our audience where they could be directed to your services, and do you have anything upcoming that they should be aware of?
So you can find us. We have our website. It's www.hopedealersbtc.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and even Twitter. It's just at Hope Dealers BTC. And our Hope line is 585-633-8690. It's an answering service. However, you can call just because you want somebody to talk to. It's not directed solely just for people who are looking for treatment. And you leave a message and somebody will get back to you within 24 hours, if not sooner.
Thank you for what you do. I appreciate it, and I hope our community appreciates it. Make sure you like Hope Dealers BTC on Facebook. They also have an Instagram page as well, and seek the help if you need it or know somebody who is in need. Thank you, Karina, so much for your interview. It's awesome to have you.
Oh, thank you so
Mwah.
much.
Thank you. Hey, Julia, heavy stuff, huh? Look what you came
I
back to.
I think that this stuff is so important, and
It is.
yeah,
It
I think
really
it's
is.
especially right now when there's like less resources to know that there are people like out on the ground making things happen. It's really important. Thank you.
I worry. I think about this stuff. I mean, I'm fortunate that I've never had a substance abuse problem or have known too many people. But I mean, it's something that right now during COVID, where I think about anybody with an addiction, like this is like probably prime time for it. Like there's a lot to be depressed about, and we also have a lot of time. So if this could send people down a dark path, that's why I like to do these things, because I think it's just a reminder, like, hey, there's people that care, and go seek the help if you need it. Julia, today's theme is power. What do you consider to be your superpower?
Wow. I think I think that my superpower might be looking at the good side of everything, like even painful things. Um I see the goodness in it and the opportunity in it, and at the very least, the creation of art in it. And there are times where I've forgotten that, and so then that makes it even more valuable when I come back to it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is an important aspect of how my brain works, to remember the good and the silver linings.
Definitely. Did you ever feel like you had that moment of clarity, or where you realized you were maybe in a bad place, but you were ready to take on the challenge of getting yourself somewhere better?
Yeah, yeah, I think that like talking about the bottom is like a really important thing for every person. Um, and it's different, like where you can go that reaches a point of like I need some sort of intervention from an outside source because I can't do this any longer. And like what level of denial you're in, and what really, like, I think sometimes the denial comes from what substances are introduced to your system that create the highs and the lows. Like, what is your bottom depends on the person's life. And I think that mine was like being post breakup with like the person that I had broken up with doing like great, doing really wonderful for themselves. And me like doing all of the stuff that I could think of to feel good, including some drugs and alcohol, and like experimenting, trying to figure out like what would make me happy, and finding none of it, finding like nothing worked. Um, and that's what got me into programs. Uh, I've found 12-step programs really helpful. I think more people could and should be aware of Codependence Anonymous. Go check
What?
it out. I'm getting thumbs up from the panel.
Karina, you can chime in if you need. Yeah, it's funny. Cool.
Yes, and more yes. I just have to like, yes, girl, yes. Yes, that's it. All I'll say is yes.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I felt the same when you were talking. Like, I think that there's a real like numbness to life that people find themselves in, and you can further the numbness with certain things. And like it's really confronting to go to a 12-step program and be honest with yourself. And the beauty of it is that there's other people being honest with themselves, because I think feeling alone is a fundamental aspect to a bottom. Being like, I am alone here, and I have no frame of reference for what it looks like to get out of this place. And going and seeing other people do what they need to do to get out, I think honesty is a huge component of it, because that privacy that people are so attached to do their little addictions in is part of the keeps it going. You have your privacy. No one knows that you do this thing that hurts you, so that makes it not real. Like whatever lie you tell yourself. And once you start like ripping the privacy layers off and being like, I do this thing, and I'm lying in this way, and I'm pretending in this way, and other people get to be like, me too. And this is what I do to break out of that. And you're like, okay, well, maybe that frame of reference could help me. Yeah.
It's got to be, I mean, I've never been in a situation like this, but I mean, for people to all be, I know what it's like to be honest with yourself. Like, and I'll talk more about my piece like in the end of today, but like that confrontation that you have with yourself in that moment where you're like, in my situation, I was like, you're an ugly person. I hate what I'm looking at, you know? And I think like, and for these reasons, I hate myself, you know? And when you're confronted with that and you see the mess you are in the mirror, you know, it's really such a vulnerable, powerful moment, you know? And when you're able to recognize that and then seek help wherever you need it, you know. In my situation, it was breaking some relationships, you know, like disassociating myself with certain people and getting out of the relationship I was in. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, now that you guys are both, you and Karina, have like moved on from that, to be on the other side of that mountain, you know, how good do you feel?
I feel good, but like I said, I'm actually not on the other side of anything. It's like a forever thing, and
Journey.
I'll notice so like Corinna, like the way that you were saying, like if I go back, I'll be done. Like that's it for me. I think for a lot of people, the line is softer. So like if I start these weird private habits, and they can, for certain people, you know, like we think of the highs and the lows as such like a, oh, well, if you're overdosed and you're getting arrested, then that's the line. But what I found in sobriety meetings is that like, if you take the time to consider your lows and your bottoms, um, it can get you to a place where you don't have to go there. You don't have to hit that kind of bottom. And for some people, the weird little private habits are like watching TV for 8 hours, like weed. You know, like we talk about like gateway drugs, and I remember being like, that's stupid. And now I'm like, oh man, if I start smoking weed, I will do it way more often than is good for me. And a definition of addiction that I heard once is anything that hurts you, that you know hurts you, that you do anyway. So
That's
that
addiction,
makes,
yeah.
like that makes the definition of it way, way, way bigger than people are used to. And, you know, just even having thoughts of like, I'm ugly, that's more of a symptom of something that you might be doing, like exposing yourself to something that puts that in there. So if I start reading magazines or watching certain shows that like tell me I'm ugly, then I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of those things that hurts me that I do anyway.
That the drugs are merely a symptom, right? So when you're saying you get to this point where you're free, and my personal opinion is that walking with God, you can get there, but that doesn't work for everybody. So as an organization, what our belief is that this is a lifelong process. Just because you stop using doesn't mean that you're going to be all of a sudden a good person. It requires work, and a lot of work to face yourself and to peel back those layers. I would be lying if I sat here and said, yeah, I'm healed. I do believe that I am redeemed wholeheartedly. However, I know that there are still areas that affect my life negatively due to a long history of false belief systems that came to be all I knew. And I believe that for, you know, almost every person that struggles with substance use disorder, it's the same, that just because you identify as being a person in recovery doesn't automatically make you a good person. And I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. You really have to be willing to not just stop using, because again, I'll say it until you can't stand hearing it, that the drugs are a symptom of covering up more that you have been unwilling to face, whether it, and again, it's trauma-based, trauma-related, mental health related. It all goes together. And that's part of what we're trying to help acknowledge and support, is that you can do this. And not only can you do it, let us show you a plethora of options of what might work for you, and walk next to you and support you, even if that looks different than what the traditional realm may say. And while you're peeling back those layers and discovering that, you know what, I might be in this 3 years and discover that I'm still not really a great person. I still, you know, lie a lot or steal things or whatever quirky private thing you do. Let's shed some light on that. And you know what? We're not going to judge you. We're going to walk right next to you to try to help you through that and come out on the other side.
Yeah, thank
Amen.
you guys so much for like your honesty with this. I mean, this is like heavy personal stuff, and yeah, I think it's good for it to be acknowledged, though. You know, there are lots of people out there that are going through this or are having some thoughts about maybe making some changes, you know, and your words, I'm sure, are very encouraging and helpful. So thank you. Julia, what else? What do you have coming up next? So you've been releasing singles like once a month. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I released a song every month in 2020, and in 2021, I'm releasing the acoustic versions of those songs. So those were
That's
all like
cool.
lo-fi pop bedroom production, and I'm gonna strip them down and cover myself.
That's fun. I like that. That's a great idea. Cool. I love the songs that you've put out. And the song to your family. So I was watching the news. I think it was, what was it, Christmas or Christmas Eve maybe. And
Mhm.
there comes Julia Nunes, like, writes singer-songwriter, writes song for family, just about being away from. I mean, can you tell our audience a little bit about your song?
Yeah, I wrote a song called Promise. That is a song basically trapping my parents into agreeing to take care of themselves. I want them to uh, take, like, give themselves as much love as they would give me if I was able to come into town. So that's what the chorus of the song says: "Promise you'll take care of you, and I promise I'll take care of me too." And yeah, the decision to stay apart. It's been over a year since I've seen my family in person, and you know, it's related actually to what we're talking about. Like, in recovery, I've made amends with my family and apologized for things, and I'm tighter with my family than ever. And to be like finally in this place of like really connected to my family and not able to see them, it's like this it's a really beautiful pain, you know. Like I was saying, the bright side of things, like I'm just so lucky to have this relationship with them now, and to have such like real conscious parents. I hear a lot of people my age with parents who like do not get it, and my parents are like alive and awake and like listen and work on themselves. So I feel so lucky, and it's painful to be away, but that's a wonderful thing.
It was a very touching song. Like just listening to it, and I was with my parents, and I was like, oh, you know, I felt grateful in that moment to be with my parents because I had been away from them, and especially during these times, you know, like to have them here and to be healthy, and for us to, you know, for them to, for me to give them a grandchild that we could all spend, you know, our holidays with. It's a very fortunate situation, and I feel for those that don't have that right now, especially. Julia, where can our audience be directed to your music and go download all your awesome songs?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have an Instagram is a good place. I'm Julia Nunes Music. You spell my last name like tunes, the musical kind, with an N. And I'm just all over the internet. People always ask where I get the most money from people buying my music, and that's Bandcamp, not iTunes. Bandcamp gives artists the highest percentage. But of course, you can listen to my music for free on Spotify, and I have no qualms about that. If you ever want to buy a shirt from me, that is dope. I have one that says "Never try to fuck me again." So if you're looking for a Valentine's Day gift this year, send that to
That
your beloved.
That's so awesome. I love it. Julia, can you close us out with one of your jams?
Yes. Um, I'm glad I talked to you guys about that breakup, because it inspired a lot of music, and it was a big part of my processing journey. So this song is called "I Really Do," and it's like still finding love when like the other side is so negative.
You look at me so different these days. Oh, I miss the ways you used to smile at me from behind the camera. Tried to stand apart, I didn't get too far. Can I get back inside your heart? Your friends are protective, and they should be. I would kill anyone who hurt you. Lately that's been me, so I do it softly into a microphone. Each song a little bit out of my comfort zone. Oh, I'm just singing to pass the time. Oh, oh, oh. 'Cause I can't stand the thought of not having you in my life. This isn't over, not if we're what I think we are. Can I come over? Can I get back inside your heart? Somebody's telling lies about you. They say you hate me, and I know that can't be true, because I love you. I really do. So goodbye, goodbye. I love you. Take your time. Goodbye, goodbye. I love you. Take your time. Goodbye, goodbye. I love you. I really do.
Yay. Thank you so much, Julia, for your music and for bringing you to our platform today.
Thank
Karina.
you for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure. And Karina, such a pleasure to have you. Again, please make sure you go to both Hope Dealers and Julia's Facebook pages. They're on Instagram. You can find Julia all over YouTube. And yeah, keep doing great things, you guys. So today's theme was power. It's amazing how in the moment that you are living unhappily, that you begin to convince yourself that it's not as bad as it really is. Often we allow comfort, guilt, and the fear of the unknown to override our happiness and fulfillment. Inevitably, some things are beyond our control. However, what I wish to remind you of today is the power of choice. When we step into a place of choosing, you'll find two things: freedom to choose what your life will look like, and power to create the life you truly deserve. Here's a fun fact. 3 banded armadillos inhabit Brazil and are one among 20 species of armadillos that can roll into a ball. They have poor vision. They walk on hind legs, leaving only their front claws to touch the ground, kind of like armadillo stilettos. And they typically live in solitary and bear a protective shell, which in the event they are threatened by a strong-jawed predator, they're spared being chewed or torn apart. I fortunately remember my prime moment of vulnerability very well. The reason I say fortunate is because I remember how dark of a place I was in. And now that I've seen the other side of that mountain, I know better than to return that place. It was 7.5 years ago. My marriage was falling apart, and so was I. I was conflicted because I had trapped myself in a life that I didn't belong with, a partner I didn't belong with. I felt anxious, angry, was rebelliously acting out of spite. I was told and believed things that weren't true, and I allowed those very things to dominate years of my self-worth. Luckily for music, having a creative outlet saved me from truly falling off the deep end. I specifically remember that one afternoon that I washed off all my makeup and looked myself square in the swollen, glossy eyes of my reflection. I was 100% broken. I cried with deep gasps of sorrow and then cried even harder a second time in shame over how pitiful that person in the mirror looked, staring back at me. There it was, clear as day, unhappiness pouring from my sockets. Raw, ugly emotion descending from disappointment of feeling that yet again I had failed. Physically weak and hollow, I walked carrying those heavy burdens of these emotions with a smile, as though those feelings never even existed. Confronting myself in the mirror that day was one of the most challenging yet liberating moments of my life. It's the realest moment I've ever had with myself, and because of it, I was able to find clarity moving forward. I knew that person staring back at me was not who I was, and that she was not the person I any longer wanted to be. She was not what I stood for. At the time, I was only 28, and that was not the person who I was about to rule the next decade of my life with, being. That woman didn't deserve to rule my future. Accept the fact that when it comes to your life, no one but you is in control of your power. No one but you deserves to be in control of your power. You are your power. So I ask you, are you that person who is high-heeled with poor vision, to one degree live in solitary, bearing a protective shell, protecting what is fragile inside? Don't be a freaking armadillo. Decide what is right for you and begin taking ownership of your happiness. If you are one who has stumbled down the mountain, now is your opportunity to strap on some sneaks and to begin making the climb. Sure, it's no easy journey, but I promise you, not only is it a beautiful view from the top, it's incredibly enriching to make it to the other side. Thank you for tuning into our show. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Afternoon Cocktail is now available on all podcasting networks, so be sure to go download all 79 episodes of inspiration. Huge thank you again to Julia Nunes and to Hope Dealers. Bigger thank you to Beau Productions, to our show sponsors, Rochester Woman Online, Bridget Hogue at Empire Realty, Chris Sirianni at IT Insights, and Blades Events and Catering here on University in Rochester, New York. You guys have an amazing day. We'll be back here this Friday with a brand new episode and our closeout for our first part of season 4. Have an awesome day, you guys. Mwah.